जय जय
गौरीदेश मंदिर की
जय
जीवन यात्रा की
जय
गंगा माई यमुना माई की
जय
भक्त देवी तुलसी महारानी की
जय
श्री विजय गौरंगदानी की
जय
राम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की
जय
ग्रंथरा श्रीमद् भागवतम की
जय
बृहत मृदंग की
जय
भक्त वृंद की
जय
इसकोन वात्मन वृंद की
जय
विजय गौर प्रेमानंद
हरि बोल
Lord Susan Devotee
Hare Krishna
Lord Susan Devotee
Hare Krishna
Lord Susan Devotee
Hare Krishna
Lord Shri Guru Shri Guru
Glory Shri Guru and Gauranga Go Premanandi Hari Hari Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Radha Madhava ki Jai
So now we are reading together the Guru Vandana, the translation, and distributing the English version. Shri Guru Vandana. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotion. I bow to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Sri Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates, by him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto me. Give me the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. I take shelter at your lotus feet, shelter over us, Savior of the fallen souls. Shri Prabhupada ki Jai.
Vishnu Vadaya Krishna Krishna Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauranga Nirvisesa Sanyavari Jai Radha Madhava Kunjali Hari. You can just leave this here. Yeah, light is good. Light is good. Without light, everything is dark. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari
Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari
Kunja Vihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Jasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana
Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana
Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari
Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari
Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari
Jaya Gopijana
Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Srila Prabhupada ki Nitai Go Premanandi Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, which is titled what? Who knows?
That is cool.
That's the, oh yeah, excuse me. Chapter 20.
Yeah, 20, text 52.
Yeah, so the chapter of the title is what? The title of the chapter? Nobody knows? Conversation between Maitreya and Vidura, text 52. Tapasa. Not tapasa. Tapasa. Not tapasa. Tapasa. Vidyaya. Yukto. Yogena. Susamadina. Rishin. Rishir. Rishikesha. Sasarja vimataha. Prajaha. Tapasa vidyaya yukto. Yogena susamadina. Rishin. Slow down, boys. Rishin, Rishikesha. Sasarjabi mata prajaha. Tapasa vidyaya yukto. Yogena susamadina. Rishin, Rishikesha. Sasarjabi mata prajaha.
tapasa vidyaya yukto
Yogena susamadina
yogena susamadina
Rishin Rishir Rishikesha
rishin rishir rishikesha
Sasajabi Mata Prajaha
sasaja vimata praja
tapasa vidyaya yukto
tapasa vidyaya yukto
yogena susamadina
yogena susamadina
rishin rishir rishikesha
rishin rishir rishikesha
sasacha bhimata prajaha
sasaja vimata praja
tapasa vidyaya yukto
tapasa vidyaya yukto
yogena susamadina
yogena susamadina
rishin rishir rishikesha
rishin rishir rishikesha
sasaja bhimata prajaha
sasaja vimata praja
Tapasa Vidyaya Yukto
tapasa vidyaya yukto
Yogena Susamadhina
yogena susamadina
Rishin Rishir Vihikesha
rishin rishir rishikesha
Sasaja Bhimada Praja
sasaja vimata praja.
Ladies?
Tapasa vidaya yukto
Tapasa vidyaya yukto
yogena susamadina
yogena susamadina
rishin rishir rishikesha
rishin rishir rishikesha
shasha yabhimata
sasaja vimata praja
Tapasa vidyaya yukto
tapasa vidyaya yukto
yogena susamadina
yogena susamadina
rishin rishir rishikesha
rishin rishir rishikesha
sasajadmikata prajaha
sasaja vimata praja.
Ladies and gentlemen, when you see a line over a vowel, what does that mean? Who knows?
I know. That means a long
Yeah.
A or
So, tapasa vidyaya yogena susamadina. Not, I don't think it's not normal in Western languages, long vowels, is it? I don't know. In English it's not.
in German there are
Some.
few cases.
Yeah. So Germans are supposed to be Sanskrit scholars, so you should all know this. Rishin, Rishir, Rishikesha, Sasarja Bimata Praja. Yes? Word meanings. Tapasa,
Tapasa
by penance.
by penance
Vidyaya,
vidyaya
by worship.
by worship
Yuktaha,
yuktaha
being engaged.
being engaged
Yogena,
yogena
by concentration of the mind in devotion.
by concentration of mind and devotion
Susamadina,
samadhina
by nice meditation.
by nice meditation.
Rishin,
Rishin,
the sages.
the sages,
Rishi,
Rishi,
the first seer, Brahma.
the first seer Brahma,
Rishikeshaha,
Rishikesha,
the controller of his senses.
the control of the senses,
Susarja,
Sasaja,
created.
created,
Abhimataha,
Abhimataha,
beloved.
beloved,
Rajaha,
Rajaha,
son.
son,
Having equipped himself with austere penance, adoration, mental concentration, and absorption in devotion, accompanied by dispassion and having controlled his senses, Brahma, the self-born living creature, evolved great sages as his beloved sons. Why don't we repeat? Having equipped himself
having equipped himself
with austere penance,
with austere penance,
adoration,
adoration,
mental concentration,
mental concentration,
and absorption
and absorption
in devotion,
in devotion,
accompanied by dispassion,
accompanied by dispassion,
and having controlled his senses.
and having controlled his senses.
Brahma, the self-born living creature,
Brahma, the self-born living creature,
evolved great sages as his beloved sons.
all great sages as his beloved sons.
So there's a word here, adoration. It doesn't mean that he was seeking adoration. It means he was worshiping Krishna. So it says, having equipped himself with adoration. It sounds like he was trying to be honored. So he did austerity and penance. He worshipped Krishna. He concentrated his mind. He got out of the mode of passion. He controlled himself. And then in that consciousness, he gave birth, or he, in his own way, that Brahma expands, he created sages. Because these are the qualities of sages. Right? Yes?
Yes.
Austerity. If you're a sage, or you're supposed to be a sage, and you're not austere, you're not self-controlled, you don't control your mind, you don't worship Krishna, then what's your qualification for being a sage? You have a nice turban, have a good marketing firm, the right colored saffron, perfect tila, the right beard, everything perfect. That becomes your qualification. And you know how to talk, so you can bewilder people. And if you develop some mystic power, then you even have more ability to control people's minds. So in Kali Yuga, you don't really have to have the qualification of a sadhu to be accepted as a sadhu. You just have to know how to talk. Nice language, make people feel good, make people feel spiritual. You don't have to help them become spiritual, you just have to make them feel spiritual. You have to, wear the right clothes, have the right beads, have the right look, everything. And then you'll be considered a saint, a sadhu. Until we discover that you had 25 girlfriends. And then your program is over, the fun is over. But in some cases you might be able to juggle some words and justify that also, with whatever followers remain. Yes? Maybe only with 3 girlfriends you could talk your way out of it. 25 is hard. The way one of them does it, there was one I saw on YouTube, and he was about 30 years old, and he was giving a talk on brahmacharya life. And as soon as I saw him, within a nanosecond, you know what a nanosecond is? How much is a nanosecond? As soon as I saw him, I said, this guy is a ladies' man. He's wearing saffron, turban, the whole thing. The beads, big asana. And as soon as I saw him, I said, this guy's a ladies' man. And he was giving a whole talk on brahmacharya, the importance of brahmacharya. And then I understood that this is his cover. Because he's talking about brahmacharya, celibacy, sense control, to make people think that he is, when he's not. It was so obvious he wasn't, just by looking at him. And a woman would have picked it up in a half a nanosecond. It took me 1 nanosecond to pick it up. She would have got it faster. So, let's read the purport. The ritualistic performances of sacrifice are meant for material economic development. In other words, they are meant to keep the body in good condition for cultivation of spiritual knowledge. But For actual attainment of spiritual knowledge, other qualifications are needed. What is essential is vidya, or worship of the Supreme Lord. Sometimes the word yoga is used to refer to the gymnastic performances of different bodily postures which help mental concentration. Generally, the different bodily postures in the yoga system are accepted by less intelligent men to be the end of yoga, but actually they are meant to concentrate the mind upon the Supersoul. After creating persons for economic development, Brahma created sages who would set the example for spiritual realization. So we actually are trying to become sages. Did you know that? You know you're trying to become a sage? Did anyone tell you? You're trying to become sages or sagettes or whatever they call women. Women sages. Yoginis. Yoginis. And society needs sages because sages are self-controlled. And if there's not a group of people that are self-controlled, then the tendency will be to exploit. Even if you don't feel that the average person has a strong tendency to exploit, give them the opportunity and they will. And if you look at history, for example, one revolution after another. So you take down one party because they're exploiting, and then you establish the next party whose mission is to end exploitation. But when they get power, what do? Human tendency is to exploit, isn't it? So even you go in with the intention to solve the problem of exploitation. You become a leader, you have power, you have influence, you misuse it. We've even seen that in the Hare Krishna movement. Some new bhakta comes off the street, has no position, and then he becomes head cleaner of the toilet. When he joined, he was second cleaner. Now he's head cleaner. Now he becomes a little proud. Then he gets upgraded to cleaner of the prasadam room. And if he stays long enough, he'll become temple commander. When he becomes temple, long enough means 6 months. Now we make him temple commander, and then he thinks, I'm temple commander. He's commanding 3 brahmacharis. Like, it's a big thing. And then it goes to his head. Well, I'm temple commander. You have to do what I say. I've been here 6 months. You just joined last week. Who do you think you are? I'm an important person. And then that bhakta who's been there for a week, in 6 months he becomes temple commander. And then he bosses everyone around. Who do you think you are? I've been here 6 months. I'm temple commander. We've seen this. Right? So just when you give people power, it's dangerous. Because the human conditioned tendency is to take advantage. When you give people a lot of money, it's dangerous. When you give people a lot of facility, it's dangerous. So there needs to be a class of men who can handle power and not get influenced by it. Because somebody has to be able to prevent social exploitation. You know that Nelson Mandela, when he got his first paycheck, he looked at it and he said, this is too much money, I don't need that much. I only need half of this. And he started a charitable foundation. Isn't that interesting? The current president of South Africa is the antithesis of Nelson Mandela. He owns a whole village. He's got, 25 wives, 200 children. His budget his monthly budget is, very expensive. He's maintaining a huge family. So he has to extract money from the government. So, anyway, we all know these things. So, Brahmins or sages, they're different. We've heard it said that a Brahmin, if he has given 100,000 euros or whatever he would be given, 100,000 gold coins. By the evening, he has nothing. He doesn't keep it. He doesn't collect it. The Brahmin doesn't think, oh, I was just given 100,000 euros. He doesn't go call up his stockbroker and think, okay, how can we invest this and expand our fortune? That's not a Brahmin. Brahmin thinks, how can we use this? So by the evening, he's used it somehow. Bought some land to build a temple, established a school, bought some cows, did some yagyas, fed some poor people. And then again, by the evening, he has no gold coins, or fake gold coins, called euros. So you need a class of men who are not controlled by money. Those are called Brahmins. Those are called sages. They're not controlled by money. When you're controlled by money, then what? You become a dancing dog. You know, a very interesting thing happened in America, that we had a candidate who was not controlled by money. He wouldn't take money from corporations. And the media made sure he didn't get elected. He didn't get proper coverage in the media. They didn't want him elected. And so what is being said publicly is that Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are the two worst presidential candidates we've ever had in the history of America. And Bernie Sanders is far, far more qualified than any of them, but the media wouldn't let him get elected because he doesn't take money from the corporations and they can't control him. So the powers that be don't like people who aren't controlled by money. But you can't you can't run a country that will benefit people if you're controlled by money. Because the people who control the money don't want the people to be benefited. If they did, they would close the alcohol industry, the meat industry, the tobacco industry, the pharmaceutical. All these industries would be shut down if you actually cared about people. Isn't it?
Closed down.
What?
Las Vegas closed down.
Yeah. Las Vegas closed down. All the casinos closed. Of course, there'd be a huge riot, not from the government, from the people. Maybe it was better he wasn't elected. Maybe he would have been assassinated. So in this verse, it said, always thinking of Krishna, is always not just thinking, but it said absorbed, concentrated, always concentrated in meditation on Krishna. Vidyaya, worshipping Krishna, and vidya also means knowledge. So one who knows about God, one who worships God, one who meditates on God, one who is sense-controlled, and one who does austerity. That's what this verse said. That's the qualification. And we all do austerity. Just like when winter comes, you all do austerity, right? You walk outside, austerity. Isn't it? As soon as you go outside in the winter, you're doing austerity. Not voluntarily, but you're doing austerity. So everyone does austerity. You go to work, drive through traffic, deal with a boss who may not be so likable or lovable or kind or generous, or a company that has a culture that's very weird, and you have to tolerate it and deal with it. So you're doing austerity. Everyone's doing austerity, but the word tapasa, austerity, means you do it voluntarily to purify yourself. There's a difference. You don't have to do it, but you do it because it's purifying. Just like we rise early, that's austerity. You could move out of the temple, you can sleep as long as you want. But voluntarily, you stay here and you rise early. Yes? You do it voluntarily. And that austerity, what does it do? It gives you something that sense gratification can never give you. You could sleep in till 9 o'clock. That will give your body a lot of comfort and pleasure. And you can turn the heat up in the winter, sleep in a nice warm room, and you'll be very happy, materially. Or you can get up very early and come in. I don't know if this temple room is cold in the winter. Probably a little bit, right? We have heaters. But still probably a little cold. Right? Yeah, a little austere. Anyway, hallway must be cold. Right? Something has to be cold around.
Yeah, those who overnight in the room.
Oh yeah, they're cold. Yeah. So you do some austerity, it's not comfortable for the body. But you feel very blissful. So what austerity gives you, you could never get from sense gratification. It's not possible. You can't get that consciousness from sense gratification that you can get from austerity. The clarity, the realization, the detachment you get. Just like people say, what do you do? We say, we get up at 4 o'clock and take a cold shower. Why would you want to take a cold shower? Because you don't know that a cold shower is actually healthy. It purifies your body, it purifies your mind. Shastra says it even cleanses you of sin. It wakes you up, it gets all that ignorance off you. So we're supposed to take cold or cool. And then we meditate. And we don't eat meat, we don't have illicit sex, and we don't take drugs. And so they say, well, what do you do for fun? Because according to them, it doesn't sound like much fun, does it? Okay, you get up, you dance, you meditate, you do these austerities. So when that's over, what do you do for fun? Take prasadam. No, we were having fun all morning. But what about your girlfriend? What about your boyfriend? No, how can you do that? So people don't intuitively understand that austerity brings happiness. They understand that austerity brings suffering. Actually, austerity means suffering. I mean, literally means, tapasa means heat, and heat means suffering. So it means suffering, but it's not suffering. And so when you do austerity, you get realization. You understand things that you cannot understand if you don't do austerity. It's just like sometimes we're trying to explain something to somebody. You ever had this problem? You're trying to explain something to somebody, and it's like, boop, 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 boop. It's like you explain it 108 times. They don't get it. Right? Because they don't live that kind of lifestyle. Right? They don't have that background. And you explain that to any Hindu, any Indian on the street, anywhere in the 3 worlds, and they get it in a second, unless they're dedicated their lives to being American or Western. They'll get it, but they'll pretend not to get it because they don't want to be too Indian. But your average Indian, you tell them anything like this, they go, yes, yes, yes. They understand immediately. So, in our society, we don't equate austerity with pleasure. Generally, most people don't. But when you do austerity, you get clarity of consciousness. You can understand things you could never understand by reading a book. And when you read the book, you can understand now what's in the book because you've done austerity. Take 2 people, let them read the same thing. One who's doing austerity, chanting Hare Krishna, one who isn't. There's completely different realizations they'll get, right? Yes? So, anyway, there's so many examples that when you take people who are good people, but you put them in situations in which they're tempted, they become bad people. They did an experiment. They took university students and they created a mock, what we call mock. You understand mock? It's pretend. It's like a model. You create a model of a prison and you say, you will be prisoners. You will be wardens, jail wardens. You will be in charge.
That's a German don't even know that.
Oh.
It was an experiment.
Oh yeah, so you already know. So the ones who became the wardens just started controlling, right? Dominating. And it was just play. Wasn't real. So that's a human tendency. One of our presidents, President Lincoln, he said, men can tolerate adversity. Said, but if you want to understand if a man is strong, give him power and see what he does. See if he can tolerate power. He said, then you'll understand a great man. So a Brahmin, you give them millions and millions of euros, they don't become attached. You give them millions and millions of people bowing at their feet, they don't exploit. That's Brahmin. They only think, what is the best? What is the welfare? What are the needs for these people? And therefore Prabhupada said, we need a class of Brahmins, and he meant us, you and me. We're meant to be Brahmins. People who think about the welfare of others. Just like you're going out, you're distributing books every day. Sometimes people are nice, sometimes they're not nice. But still, we are thinking, you are thinking, we have to distribute these books, we have to give people Krishna consciousness. Even sometimes they accept, sometimes they don't. But this is what they need, so we're willing to tolerate it. Because someone has to do it. Right? It's said that a Brahmin's duty is to teach. That's what a Brahmin does. Even nobody comes, even as one student, he'll teach. He doesn't work for money. It's not controlled by money. He just teaches. One student, 100, 1,000. That's what he does. Yeah. So now we're being trained to be Brahmins. So you see the qualifications here? Brahma is he's going to create sadhus, and so then he goes into his own sadhu-like mood, so he can create sadhus. So the example we could use is, you want to make others Krishna conscious, you have to be Krishna conscious. You can't make other people what you're not. The biggest mistake is to tell somebody to do something you don't do. So first Brahma becomes what he wants to create. Right? Like we say, the consciousness of the parents will affect the consciousness of the children. Right? So Brahma is now the parent, so he's going into the right consciousness to create. He wants to create sadhus, so he does discipline, he does meditation, he does worship. So our mission is to create devotees or make people Krishna conscious. And we do that by being Krishna conscious. We don't do it by saying, here's a book, what's it about? I have no idea, I don't read it. But I heard it's a good book. No, we don't do it like that. We do it by reading it, we do it by practicing it, we do it by being an example of what the book teaches. And that's how people become influenced. And that's how people become elevated. And therefore, you need a class of Brahmins to elevate society. Because if society doesn't have saints, how are they going to be elevated? That's like the downfall. The downfall of society is no Brahmins. That's how Kali Yuga began. Kali Yuga began when the Brahmins were finished. If the Brahmins were still intact, you wouldn't have Kali Yuga. Kali couldn't make its entrance. Right? Isn't that how Kali began? So, if Kali began with the corruption of Brahmins, then Kali can be fought by the creation of Brahmins. And that's what Prabhupada is doing. He's creating Brahmins. And so you can't spread Krishna consciousness without becoming Brahman yourself. And Brahman means sattva gun. That's Brahmana first means sattva gun. And so you might say, well, our goal is not to be Brahmins because Vaishnavas are higher. That's true. But first we have to become Brahmins, sattva guna. Can't jump from tamaguna to transcendence. And so what is sattva guna? Sama, sense control, dhamma, Sama, equalness, dhamma, sense control. The same thing. Sama, tapa, austerity, socham, clean. Samadhamastapasosam, shantir, arjavam, peacefulness, honesty, titikshava, tolerance, arjam, evacha, jnanam, vijnanam, astikam, brahmakarma, subhavajam. Yeah. So, that's what we're supposed to be doing here. Getting out of the mode of passion, getting out of the mode of ignorance, becoming sadhus. Sadhu means at least sattva-guna. Yes? When you get angry, that's rajagun, tamagun. When you're lazy, that's tamagun. When you're lamenting, that's tamagun. When you're depressed, that's tamagun. When you're not clean, when you're disorganized, that's tamagun. When you're resentful, that's tamagun. All those good qualities, it's all the lower modes of nature. And then, I'm sarcastic, all those good qualities. All the bad qualities are coming from the lower modes of nature. And all the good qualities that Krishna describes, or the 26 qualities of devotee, they all manifest initially in the mode of goodness. Those are qualities that you find for those who are situated in goodness. Yes? What are the qualities of goodness? There's so many qualities Krishna describes. Anyway, I will stop here. If you have any questions or discussions or arguments, debates. And we're broadcasting, so if those in the virtual class have questions, they can ask also. Yes?
It's interesting you mentioned that in order to find out someone's tendency to give him power, how he deals with it. Often I see when you give someone power, then difficult to get him again out. A little bit risky.
They got attached to the power, huh? Yeah. Well, I think I saw this in the early days of the movement as Prabhupada gave sannyas to a lot of young men. And what happened when you took sannyas is you got a lot of honor. Yeah, more honor than they get today. In those days, there were very few of them. Even, you could say, more honor than gurus, because in those days, 1970, we had maybe 4 sannyasis. So it was very rare. If someone was a sannyasi and they came to the temple, it's a very, very big thing for us. Every Mahaplate went to them. In those days, no brahmachari ever had their own room. It was always, minimum of like 8 per room, or at least 4, if it's a small room. But no one had their own room. And no one had a personal servant taking care of them. No one really had much independence financially to create their own programs. So when you became a sannyasi, you got all that. So people's desire to take sannyas started to become mixed. And so, depending how mixed it was when they took sannyas, that's how influenced they would be by the facilities that sannyas gave, and that is also how much they'd be influenced adversely by that sannyas ashram. Sannyas are supposed to be more austerity, not less austerity. And in Gaudiya Math, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had the sannyasis serve prasadam. So he said, as you go up, you become more of a servant. So if we teach that now you're getting more responsibility, so I need you to be a greater servant, I need you to be more humble, then we'll be safe. Our conditioned tendency thinks the opposite, so we have to show people with greater responsibility, with higher position comes greater responsibility. That's how we should think. They have this saying, servant leader. Now, the higher you go up, the more you have to become a servant. And I think it's obvious that when you get to the position of guru, if you don't think that way, your days are numbered. Because then if you have lots of disciples, that means you have lots of people serving you. And unless you see that you're a servant, this is your service to Guru, but you're also a servant of your disciples, then your days will be numbered before you. You'll have to fall. You have to see that way. And that's how Prabhupada saw. He saw himself as servant of his disciples. Sometimes he would say, I see my disciples as my spiritual master. They teach me. I learn from them how to serve my Guru. So that's extremely important. And one thing that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that's really powerful in this regard. He said that a devotee, at least you can say advanced devotee, he's fixed in his realization that I'm servant, right? So if he's down here, like when we're down here, we think I'm servant, then we get the big position, we forget we're servant, and we think I'm the boss. How do you say boss in German?
Yes.
Boss. I'm boss. Chef. Right? So I go up here, I think I'm boss, or I think I'm better. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that for one who is self-realized or Krishna conscious, his identity as servant never changes, no matter where he goes. From here, 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 here. He's fixed in that realization, I'm servant. So if you give him a big position, it doesn't go to his head, because he doesn't get shaken up by, I'm servant, that's all I am. I'm still just a humble servant. They interviewed the Dalai Lama on one television show in America, and it was quite a popular show, and a well-known moderator, and he said to the Dalai Lama, he said, you are the most important person I have ever had on my show. And the Dalai Lama said, yes, I am so important. No, he didn't say that. he didn't say, yes, I know. Your show? Nobody important goes on your show. No one like me. No, he didn't say that. He said the right thing that a monk should say. He just kind of shrugged it off, just like, I'm just a humble monk. That was his response. He said, I'm just a humble. He said, I don't know, I'm just a humble monk. That's how he saw himself. He didn't see himself as Dalai Lama, he saw himself as a humble monk. So if ever you become famous, 50 years from now, you become famous as a big sadhu, and you go on a big television show, and they tell you, you are the most important person we've ever had on the show. Now you know how to think. Of course, you'll never get that high if you don't think that way. You will die long before you get there. Right? You'll be dead before you get that high if you don't stay humble. But as long as you think I am servant, it doesn't matter. You have one follower, you have 10 million followers, you have one euro, you have zillion euros, quadrillion euros. It doesn't matter. You think the same. Right? We see you, now you just got a donation of 100 million euros. Then we see you next week and you're wearing the same clothes. You're walking the same way, you're giving the same clothes. Because you're fixed in that I'm servant. That's all. Nothing else changed. Nothing changed. I'm servant, that's all. It wasn't my money before, it's not my money now. These were not my followers before, they're not my followers, they're Christians. I'm their servant. I'm the servant of the money, I'm the servant of the people. That's what it means. When you have that class of people, then you can take over the world. Then Krishna can say, okay, we'll give you the world now. Now you're ready for it. Before that, we're not ready. And that's how we're supposed to train people. And as leaders, we should understand when we give people position, that tendency is going to be there for them to become proud. So we have to tell them, now you become a bigger servant. Now I'm giving you a position of leadership, you have more people to serve than you had before. And don't ever think you're better, always think everyone else is better, and you're just facilitating them. Because advancement in Krishna consciousness doesn't mean to think I'm better. When you're not advanced, you think you're better. That's how you know you're not advanced. Think you're better. And that's how you know you're advancing. You think others are better. Yes? That's how you take your pulse. Okay, I think I'm the best devotee. All right. That means completely in the mode of ignorance. Yeah, I can feel the mode of ignorance right now. It's the pulsing really hard, tamaguna. I'm the best devotee. These devotees here, they're useless. I'm the best. Yeah. Okay, tamaguna. Yeah, it's tamaguna. Yeah, and tell you my pulse. I'm the worst devotee. Everyone is better than me. I appreciate everyone's service. Yeah, I can feel it. Vishuddha sattva. Yeah, completely transcendental. Yes? So it's a answer to your question is you wanna create a culture that's Krishna conscious, because when you bring in people from the outside, if you don't, they'll create their own culture. They'll just we just bring in, not they, we'll bring in our culture, and our culture is competitive. Our culture values position. We judge one another by what's your position? How long you been a devotee? What do you do? You temple president yet? You in charge of something? Oh, you're not? Useless. Don't talk to me. That's our culture. It's not our fault. We've been conditioned that way by our culture. That's what they teach us. Right? You're working so hard to get a position. All right, you want to make money. Why? So you can live in a good neighborhood and drive a good car. So when you walk around, people are like, oh, you're cool. Right? So you can afford to, have the nice Swiss watch and the Nike shoes, and you don't drive around in a 1983 beat-up Volkswagen, but you can get something better. And, people will respect you. Right? You can tell them what neighborhood you live in, you can tell them what company you work for. So we've been conditioned by that. So you just bring that into ISKCON. What's your service? Who's your guru? Everything, Your guru can be a status symbol for you. Why did you choose that guru? Because he's got status. That gives me status. You may not be thinking that way, but you may be. You may be thinking that way, and you don't even know you're thinking that way. It's just, we're just conditioned by it. Right? So we want to create a culture which is the exact opposite of that. So if someone wants a position, they want it to serve, not because they're going to get any honor for it. You don't want people striving for position to get honor. And you want to teach that when you get the position, then you'll serve. Higher you go, the more you serve. Right? In the beginning, nobody was washing the plates at 26 Second Avenue. So Prabhupada said, each one of you needs to take a day to wash the plates. Prabhupada said, I'll take Thursday. That's Prabhupada. Who'll take Monday, who'll take Tuesday, who'll take Wednesday? I'll take Thursday. Who'll take Friday, who'll take Saturday? Who'll take Sunday? Hare Krishna. Anything else? Yes.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, of course.
I figured also out that sometimes also in the group, when new people coming in, also devotees maybe, then there's one from your team, and then presenting yourself to others, as you presenting it to others as a temple president. I always get like, why are you saying that?
Mm-hmm.
Because they, as soon as they hear, oh, you're the temple president, they're completely them. It's like switching in the mind. Oh, I have to be like that. But I don't want that. I don't want that they presenting me as a temple president.
Maybe we can
change.
Change your name or something.
Because
Get a new
it's
title.
very difficult to see the people's normal human being, how they are, how they're dealing with you.
Maybe it's a good idea. Maybe we should consider changing the names of our positions.
Like servant leader.
Temple servant. He's the head servant.
Because it's really, it makes like, I mean, like the names, it's really giving
like temple commander. That's like, we're the whole reason we're in the material world is we want to be commanders. Right? So maybe we need to change. Yeah, I think it's an interesting idea. We can create transcendental names. He's the chief, the CDS, the chief devotee servant. He does more service for the devotees than anyone else. Then no one will ever want to become the CDS. You want to be the CDS? No way, I want to be the temple president. I want to be the CDS. Yes.
We're a temple entertainer instead of temple commander.
How about temple entertainer? Isn't the temple commander supposed to be more do everything? The temple. You know about Jayananda Prabhu. Maybe you've heard about Jayananda Prabhu, but he would whatever had to be done, he would do it. He was the temple president, but he was. What title do you give to the person? Oh, like the handyman. You have that title, handyman, fix-it man. One who just does whatever is broken, he fixes. You have a name for that kind of person?
Yeah, Hausmeister.
Hausmeister. Yeah. So like Jayananda was like the Hausmeister. It was whatever had to be done. Car broke down, he fixed it. Yeah. Sweet rice needed to be cooked, he's in the kitchen. Pot's clean, he's in the kitchen. Driver, okay, we need a driver, he's the driver. Yeah. Trash has to be taken out, he takes the trash out. One devotee said, Jayananda asked him, he was new, said, can you help me take the trash? And maybe they'd have to drive it somewhere. And so he got Jayananda's association and he saw how advanced he was, and the devotee thought, if the man taking out the trash is this advanced, I just could imagine how advanced the other devotees are. He was so impressed. And Jayananda's position that he was happy doing anything. It's like, do you know who I am? I'm not going to take out the trash. That's for a new devotee. I'm an older devotee. He was happy taking out the trash. He was happy washing the pots, whatever. So it made it so easy for everybody else. So, when you saw him as temple president, immediately, once you got to know him, then you could see that ego of temple president he didn't have. And it was really good. We're all servants, that's all. Temple servant. I don't know. Head temple servant, something like that. Temple servant acting as this position, whatever. I think
CDS is nice. The CDS.
Chief Devotee Servant. Someday you also could be Chief Devotee Servant. Yeah, and then Temple Commander is second in charge, second lieutenant Devotee Servant, something like that.
I would change the name of my business card from former temple president, now chief devotee.
Yeah. Chief Executive Servant. Chief Devotee Servant, yeah. That's nice. Okay. Yes?
Thank you. Firstly, just if Kesha President allows me to say maybe just a captain, but it's only just we're speaking about that. Captain is captain, so doesn't matter what. But my question is, I have so many questions, I don't know why. I have so many questions. I have no idea why, but I did. The question is connected with what you said last. It's easier for us. When a person wants to do night service.
Wants to do night service?
The service certainly he can do, not to be temple president or to be a pujari or something.
Yes.
Like that. Yes. There is a danger of the self-approval in doing that, because some people sometimes don't like if you do much service.
They become what? People become
because maybe someone who's doing much service thinks, I'm doing much service, yes. And then the self-approval, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he was, 3 years he was living and eating rice from the ground to get away from his self-approval. It's very dangerous, just how you understand what I mean?
You mean if you do service successfully, other people will appreciate it, or you do service successfully, other people will want to push you down? I'm not clear. Or both?
When someone, probably, for example, does much service, then self-approval comes automatically sometimes, yes?
Self-approval meaning?
Self-approval means he wants, not directly, yes.
He wants people to approve him, or he thinks he's good?
Not directly, I do so much, they should approve me. No, it's not, it's fine. It's very so fine. And then it could be felt in the team, and then a person feels it, because from outside he feels something like not approval.
He feels himself that he's doing great, but other people don't think?
He feels himself as he felt.
But other people don't approve or honor?
I don't know. It's to judge is very difficult, yes, because we can judge only what we have inside. So if one wants to do much service, he does service, but he feels, he takes all the services, so what should I do with her? So how to think about how to...
But you're talking about the other person. The other person's taking all the service?
All together. It's not difficult.
Oh, he thinks...
It's difficult to...
He thinks he's doing such nice service, so he wants to do it all, and he doesn't give you any?
So, okay, let it be this question. Yes.
What to do? What to do? Pray to Lord Nrsingadev he gets sick, and then you'll have all the service.
Really?
No, I'm only kidding.
It's about me.
I mean, it's a good problem in the sense that he likes doing service, so he wants to do more, and you like to do service, so you want to do more. Maybe you have to install more deities, then you'll have more service. Install more deities. You know, in some temples, like in America, it's come to the point there are as many deities as there are devotees. Because at one time the temple was very large, and everyone wanted to do deity worship, so they installed more deities to give everyone an opportunity. And then after Prabhupada left, the temples thinned out, and then now there were equal amounts of devotees and deities, sometimes more deities than devotees. The temple president, the chief devotee servant, will figure out how to give you more service. As far as the devotee who thinks, I'm good at what I do, like sometimes objectively he may be good at what he does and someone's not as good, and he doesn't want them to do it because he feels that he can please Krishna better. Like Radharani. Radharani is willing to have any gopi with Krishna, but Krishna wants her, so she knows that. So even though she's willing to push any gopi, she knows that ultimately only Krishna will be satisfied with her. So if let's say objectively he can lead a better kirtan than him, for the Sunday feast we should just say, or he might be thinking, when I do kirtan, people really like it, they tell me they like it. But, and we have these nice kirtans. When he leads kirtan, people start leaving the temple and nobody can figure out the beat and sing them, and he changes the melody every 3 mantras. And so just objectively, we can say, for Krishna's pleasure and Krishna's service, I think it's better I do it. Not that I'm proud, but I think it's better I do it because we'll get a better result. So sometimes, and we have to see, I'm the one who can't sing a tune, maybe it's better I don't lead the kirtan. Maybe I just lead kirtans in the shower when no one's around, and as long as it doesn't crack the pipes when I go out of tune, then we're okay. That could happen also, right? So, so we have to, I think we have to have that honesty, like, okay, you can actually do this better than I can. And the perfect combination is you realize he can do it better than you, and he realizes that he's happy to let you do it, but we want to do it whoever can do best. That's the ideal. There's no envy there, right? It's just like, who can do it the best? That's the person who should do it. That's Krishna consciousness. Now, but if I think I'm the best, then that's trouble. Then we're in trouble. It's to see, you're dealing with this problem. What if you actually do something good, better than someone, for Krishna's pleasure? But you have to stay humble at the same time. You just say, well, I don't want this person to do it because the prasadam's not going to come out right if they do it, or when they dress the deities this way, it's not pleasing. I know how to do it, I was trained, I have experience, so it's better I do it. But I don't become proud. So it has to be Krishna's pleasure. So if we're all thinking about Krishna's pleasure, it's easy. If we're all thinking, I'm better than you, why are you doing this, I can do it. Then, again, it's material. So, is that okay?
Yes.
Okay? Finished? For now?
Well, I also, she's raising up.
You have one more question?
I could ask.
Yeah, same answer for all your questions.
I have many questions.
From the chief devotee
Servant
position is also, isn't it also his to oversee also the devotees that they are also in the right position? Like someone may say, oh, I want to do a lot of service, and then one let them do, and after a while one figure out, but you're doing better when you're doing only partial of the service, but this you're doing good. More you're increasing your services, more it become messed up. You know? And then in order to keep the quality instead of increasing the quantity, it's also nice, but when it goes with quality together.
Yeah.
So but sometimes it's also the problem that the person don't accept that and thinking maybe, no, you're stealing my service, or you don't want to that I make improvement because I only make improvement because I make more service, I'm doing more service, and be more engaged in service, and this is also how one can realize Krishna. And you don't want that I realize Krishna because you're taking away my services in the quantity.
That's why you have these big windows so you can throw people out the temple.
But somehow we'll catch the clouds, yes.
There are easy solutions, but they have legal implications, right? I think all these kinds of problems can be solved if, when somebody initially comes to do service or move in the temple, that everything is understood in a Krishna conscious way, like what is service, why are we giving it to you, what we expect, and what would be good for you to do, and so we have some parameters. So then if we need to correct, they're not going to say things like this. I think the problem of people saying things like this is they didn't understand in the beginning, the purpose of service. Okay. Now sometimes, the points they're making are valuable. I'm attached to my service. I like it. But we also want to be attached to pleasing Krishna, right? So we're doing service to be engaged, and we're also doing service to be pleasing to Krishna. So we have to keep these things and we have in mind, we have an organization, we have priorities, and my job as a leader is to engage people properly according to needs, and also engage you according to what will keep you happy in Krishna consciousness. So I think there is also scope for a person to be engaged in doing something that they don't do well, but they like to do in a way that doesn't have bad effects if that's needed for them. So, okay, I'm an artist. Okay, we'll set you up. You can paint. Okay, you paint here. So your paintings may pile high, and we may not do anything with them, but you like to paint, so or we give them away or whatever. Or Prabhupada said, write. You don't have to write to be published. Just write. Write for your purification. Oh, you like to write? Okay. As you write, as you paint, you'll get better. You'll get better. Okay. You like to do kirtan? Okay. We'll let you do kirtan in this situation, where people might appreciate it, or this home program, there's nobody to do kirtan. So in that situation, people might appreciate it. But in an area where there's a lot of good kirtaniers, then you do it and you're not as accomplished. People may say, why is he doing kirtan when you have these other kirtaniers? Something like that. Or, I like to give class. Okay, so you make some arrangement, where there's new people, or maybe even children, or something, So I think it's a combination of both. But my strong feeling is that these things should be clear to people when they come, so that it doesn't backfire on us. We had a program where we would allow guests to stay. And we would say, you can stay for 3 days and then see how you like it, we can discuss. So after 3 days, we saw that the person wasn't very interested. So we generally would ask them to leave after 3 days with the initial agreement. And the idea is if you're interested in practicing Krishna consciousness, coming to the morning program and so on, you could stay longer. And as guests, we just ask that you come by 7 and 10 class and do a little service, just to kind of feel out the atmosphere. So then this boy, after 3 days, we saw he wasn't interested. And we said, so, doesn't look like you want to go further in Krishna consciousness, so the 3 days is up. And he said, no, I'm not leaving. And we had to get the police to get him out. He said, you can't kick me out. This is my room. So something like that, wasn't clear to him. And a lot of things are not clear to people because we all make assumptions. Right? We make assumptions when we take a guru, it's going to be like this, and it may not be like this. We make assumptions when we get married, it's going to be like this, or we get a job. So I think that needs to be clear. There's something called the 4 agreements. I don't know what they are, but one of them is don't make assumptions, and I think that's a good point. Yeah. The more people know, the easier it is for you to deal with it when there's a problem, because they already were informed. Yes.
So I didn't understand. This boy, he stayed for 3 days, and then he wanted to stay more. He said, "This is my room." Yes, but he was thrown from the temple, so he was left. He was allowed to leave.
Oh, he was a guest, so he
was a guest.
Yeah, he was a guest. Our agreement was a guest could stay for 3 days. You can stay here for 3 days, see how you like the temple. And usually, after 3 days, if we saw that maybe this person would like to become a devotee, we would say, why don't you stay a little longer, either as a guest or in the ashram. But he was not interested in Krishna consciousness. So we said, okay, 3 days is up, as agreed, it's time to leave. He said, I'm not leaving. He refused to leave. He said, this is my room, you can't kick me out. So he was a little crazy. Yeah. It's good to have background checks sometimes. What was the last institution the person came from? Was it mental? Was it prison? Was he fired, 40 times in the last 3 months from jobs? And now he's showing up at the temple. Yes? Okay. Good. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanandi. Hari.